and welcome back to this episode of Abandoned Planet. My name's Joe, and I go by the name A Millennial's Third Eye. I am a psychic intuitive and metaphysical life coach. Here on Abandoned Planet, I like to tell you about Abandoned Planet every episode. I invite you to abandon your planet in the sense of the way you think, the way you are perceiving life, spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally. Essentially, a fun play of words where you have the option or opportunity to have this episode or episodes to learn from, see things differently, think about things differently, change your life in a new way of thinking, believing, and experiencing. We should enjoy life. You know what I'm saying? And I'm a big fan of observing, seeing things differently, changing my perspective from the 3D, which is the third dimension, and utilizing it in the higher dimension. I have a lot of stuff I want to talk about. I'm very excited. I wanted to kind of mix it up. Usually I do share about my life, kind of what I perceive differently, what I've learned, but I also want to share in this episode or kind of be more heavy in spiritual abilities and what we call psychic intuitive or developing your spiritual intuition and these abilities. Let's see. How do I even want to start? Let's start off with like what's going on recently. Welcome back. It's a pleasure to have you here as always. And let's see. My life has changed a little bit in my schedule. I have to wake up earlier now. I'm taking some classes and not a fan of waking up early, but it's been a good transition, especially around the new, what do they call it, September 9th. It was a new portal or something. New portal. It's usually like when the numbers match. It's like, we have a new portal open. I'm into like the birth charts. I'm into astrology. I'm not heavy into it. It's not my thing. I like learning more about myself and the connections. A lot of what I do is more intuitive based or self-reflecting and connecting to my guides and all that. But it seems like, there's a line gate portal. There's this portal. It's like whenever the numbers are, there's always something when the numbers are double. Okay. I don't care who you are. They got something for something out there. So life's changing. And a lot of what I've experienced is getting ready for this goal that I'm setting myself up for and accomplishing the steps I need to take within it. And what's happened recently is a couple little things have kind of revisited themselves. And the way I want to look at it for this time around, and I want to share this with you. Maybe you've experienced this before. And for me, I look at it differently. I look at it in evolutions, but we all have these experiences where how we respond to something, we're upset about something. Maybe things didn't work out in your favor or the way you wanted it to. It could be simple things, it could be complex things. And for me, the way I look at it in the past, I would have been really frustrated and annoyed and complained about it over and over and over again. And these are just different subjects. What happened recently was that as much as I would have wanted things to go, maybe we'll say smoothly and there's no complications, there was a little minor hiccup. A part of me wanted to be more frustrated and mad about it. And I really sat there and asked myself, I was like, what's the real problem here? And the real problem was I really should have started doing something, I think, pretty much earlier. And I knew better and I didn't. And now I'm just more frustrated. When you avoid something you really should have been doing, and you should do it, especially if you are moving in a certain direction. And that was what was happening. I needed to use a piece of machinery and I didn't. And now I need to, and a little bit of a delay, but I don't know yet. But I wanted to be mad. I'm like, who am I going to be really, really mad at? Myself? And I thought about this, and I want you to think about this too. You're going to have these moments in life where you're frustrated about something. Ask yourself, what are the pros and cons here? What's going to happen? And for me, I realized I was like, I could sit here and just keep complaining, but that's a waste of my time and energy. I'm just going to be in the mood. Then I realized I was like, the best thing I could do from here is just ask more questions, move forward correctly, accomplish it, and continue. Like, what am I going to do? Just sit here and get overwhelmed and frustrated? And the reason why I want to bring this up is not only because I like to share stuff around my life, is for you as well, because how we continue something is how we're going to also either continue the patterns or how we're going to change the pattern. So if you're someone who is becoming more self-aware and you're reflecting or you want to change something, you want to be happier, things will come up. But how you choose to respond to it, reflect on it, sometimes it's things that are emotionally triggering or bothering you. And you have to kind of take time to sit there and go, what is it about this that I need to see differently. And I'm a big fan of perceiving things differently, shifting the angle so you can understand yourself better, in a way of changing the perception so that you're not looking at it the same way. So if you're looking at the way you have been, and it's not positive, and all it's doing is being negative, eventually you're going to catch yourself. You're like, I'm tired of even like hearing myself being negative about things. And you're going to want to change that action. You're going to want to change that thought. You want to change. And my favorite parts about these situations are, for me, what I would want to call is a release. It's a way of going, wow, I didn't you find a answer, clarity in it. There's something truly underneath it all that you're like, oh, I didn't realize. I just wanted happy. I just wanted to be loved. I just needed this thing. And it's very simple. But in situations like this, you can get mad at someone, you can get frustrated with someone. It's usually we want to blame something external. That thing did it. They did it. But really, what am I really needing? I just needed it's something simple, but we overlook it. And internally, it feels so much more. It really does. We feel so frustrated. We also like to blame things externally. A lot of the self-awareness becomes self-aware because you want to blame the reality. You want to blame what's external from you. But we find, and you'll find over time of self-love and correcting things, it starts with yourself. It starts with ourselves. And we can't keep doing the same things as much as we thought we want to. It's a habit. It's easy to stay stuck in the habits and all of that. Oh, one of the topics I actually did want to talk about in this is shifting the mindset. And I want to do a little bit more with this and go into other things as well. But I do want to talk about becoming aware of your abilities more, a little bit about myself when it comes to being a psychic intuitive, and also being an empath and what that really looks like for those of you who are either wanting to develop yourself and also learning to become self-aware of who you are and your abilities and what that looks like. Shifting the mindset for me, and I want to add this in because it is in conjunction, or it is a pairing per se, with spirituality. As who you are in your journey, I don't want to say cliche words here, but a lot of the words that have been they're oversaturated, In your spiritual journey, though, or your self-awareness, you have experiences that you're going to evolve from that give you the opportunities to discover more about who you are. And what we call an alchemist, or someone who is alchemically inclined to transition their reality, or also a magician, or just a unique person. You don't have to find out who you are in this, but my fun play with words, or just connections for spiritual understanding, is that life gives you opportunities to help you perceive, evolve, transcend, and learn from. And my life has been able to provide certain obstacles which helped me become a better intuitive, a psychic individual, or connect spiritually. Being open to being an empath. Being an empath is emotionally connecting. And the more you heal as an individual, you're becoming more enlightened. And what I teach people is, and explain my own way, is think about the words enlighten. It's to enlighten, or it feels like it's lighting. Enlightening is to lighten the load. A lot of dark energy could be more physically dense. And a lot of us transition through hard times when it comes to depression, when it comes to sadness, frustration, finding answers. And I want to share this with you is because life gives us opportunities. And a lot of these opportunities can be presented in many different ways. So in this episode, keep a really true open mind to this. And I hope it brings some clarity to you, for you, when it comes into what you're searching for, your soul's clarity. Because look, a lot of times we come across these episodes or listen to other podcasts or things or people, and you find the answer you're looking for fulfills you. It's like a soul fulfillment, but you didn't understand you were looking for it the whole time, if that makes sense. When you want something or you need something, but it's not a typical thing anymore, it's something deeper, and then it comes across you as comes past you, or with, what's the words I want to use, comes into your life through knowledge. Usually it's like a missing a puzzle piece of knowledge that you're like, oh, that's, your soul feels it. You literally feel like a piece come over you. So I hope that there's information here that you really enjoy or needed. And usually it's through sharing your experiences, who you are. Other people find that they're not alone through situations. My journey as a spiritual individual, being younger, I knew there were signs, there was things that have happened. And it was more so when I turned 17 that things continued to happen. I had a lot of information when it came to telepathy, spirit guides. I work with my spirit guides personally when it comes to the practice of a spiritismo, which is spiritism, which came from the French Revolution with Allan Kardec, which is also practiced in the connection with Santeria, is what I practice. But in the spiritismo, it's honored that you learn about your ancestors and honor them. You have an altar for them, and you also work and learn to connect with your spiritual guides and honor them as well separately. For me, everyone has a different path. And I want to say that as well because what I do and how I do it doesn't mean that you have to do it as well that way. Some people I recommend it to, but I don't push everyone's agenda. Like you don't have to be the same. Everyone has a different journey they're on. For this information, I'm just giving you a little bit about me and who I am. And through my younger days and growing up, I kind of started to just acknowledge it more. I had what was happening was called a astral projection. Yeah, astral projection. The other one was what? There's astral and out of body experience. Well, what happened with me was that I was at home alone and I was about to get to my door and leave the house. And just before I left, I had exited my body somehow. Like, I don't, that's the best way to explain it. And it was in black and white. I had remembered seeing me go to lock the door and I heard my thoughts. It was all in the same viewpoint. It was just not in the present moment. And I was like, oh, I got to lock the door. And I looked over the hill where the road is. And I saw my dad coming home and I went, I don't have to lock the door. He's coming home. But then I came back to my body and I literally took, I don't know, probably 10 minutes. I took some time. I was like, what just happened? Because it wasn't just, whoa, that was cool. Um, and then I went outside. I went to lock the door. And my dad came home. I kind of freaked out. I had a lot of different experiences growing up. It wasn't really until later on, I was 17. And then later on, I was 28. And 28 is when I had my spiritual awakening. In the meantime, before 28, I did have my spiritual guides. I did do readings for people. It wasn't super heavy in public. I kind of respected my own privacy with it. I didn't feel completely open with people yet to do that. I kept my passion for spirituality kind of private. I didn't feel kind of comfortable yet with sharing it with everyone. Um, Quite honestly, I wasn't sure of who I was completely either. I didn't realize I didn't know who I was. But at 28 is when I really had what we call a spiritual awakening. And if you have experienced this before or don't know, or you're learning about yourself, maybe you have this, it's when something kind of traumatizes you. There was an event that happened. It kind of makes you think like you feel depressed, you're looking for clarity and answers, you want to be happy maybe. A lot of us experience it differently, but in turn it brings you to these questions like, you can't avoid the reality anymore. You can't avoid the sense of the typical life you once lived, and now it's more of an impacting of thoughts and feelings where you just want to be happy. You want to experience things differently. It's very to a point where you don't really care anymore in a good way because you don't care about things that aren't really important. You really want to know, like, what's my purpose here? What am I meant to do? What am I doing? And it kind of, for me, and I want to go back to this, life happens for a reason. I've experienced, and I still do at times, polarities. You can't have one without the other. And what I've noticed in my nonlinear path of life that brings me clarity is I'll have to go through an experience one way where I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have noticed this until I was here at this point to feel the way I did. I wouldn't have experienced this or had this clarity unless I had to be there. So for example, sometimes you feel like you are lost, you're not on track. You might feel like you're not on track with your life path, but life has a reason it's happening to you for you. You might feel like you're not doing as much as you want to, or you aren't working, or you're not this, or you're not that. But things will present opportunities to you where you have the opportunity to love yourself more. You have the opportunity to reflect more and observe, see things differently from your daily routines and what you want to evolve from. But then you find later on, they're like, wow, I really just want to feel more fulfillment and things for myself and doing this, this, and this, rather than the typical, I really want to be with someone. I want to find my soulmate. It's not about that anymore. It's about really loving yourself and setting some goals and being more mature. And not that you don't deserve a relationship or happiness. It's you love yourself on a deeper level. You become more aware of what you truly want or need versus just saying like, I want to be happy. And this is the journey, man. The journey will bring you to, for as well as for me, I was depressed for a while and I was just wanting to be happy. And I want to share this brief story about my spiritual journey, and we'll get into more of the abilities and expanding your horizons here. But life is going to challenge you, especially for spiritual people, spiritual individuals. You're going to be presented with this kind of necessity or opportunity, which I find important. You will be challenged in your journey at some point to find a safe and happy courage and bravery to face your fears. And one of these fears is going to come off with um, letting go or detaching from this feeling of lacking power or self-worth when it comes to maybe family and when it comes to other people, and not doing what they might want you to do, or not doing what everyone is believing in what they believe is correct. You're going to be basically tested at some point to trust in yourself, but there's going to be this discomfort. There's going to be this discomfort of fear, judgment, the fear of judgment, the fear of failure, the fear of success. There's a fear. We're going to face fears in our journey. And I believe for most people, when you're becoming more aware, to me, like the spiritual awakening or this part of the journey is when you become more sensitized, or you're sensitive to this opening. You're more open because of the emotions you're dealing with. And it just opens up more, to believe it or not, even from depression or the trauma you're experiencing. And you will experience different things. Everyone's different. But what I found was I wanted clarity and answers. And at some point, I kind of felt like I had a disconnect. I didn't realize what I was doing, but no one had the answers I was looking for. And isn't that interesting? It goes back to what I was saying before, and it's a perfect example. You won't find the answer, but you will find that things had to happen a certain way in order for you to get that clarity. I kept looking for answers through people for happiness, and it wasn't just like spiritual people; it was everyone. I was like, "Hey, are you happy?" Like I was genuinely curious. Are you happy with what you're doing? What do you like? Are you happy? And a lot of people honestly weren't, but they didn't have the answer that my soul needed the fulfillment on. You know, when someone gives you clarity, you're like, "Oh yeah," and your soul goes, "Yeah, that's what it is." Um, they didn't have it. And every night I would come home, and honestly, from what I experienced, I was very sad. I was very sad, and I cried a lot, and I wanted answers to understanding. It was stuff that I couldn't process completely, but I started doing things or saying things that I want to say to you. I didn't really know that I was doing that. It made sense though. I kept saying things, and I really want to encourage you to kind of free yourself. You're going to need to express yourself. And I'm not saying like be a horrible person. I'm saying I said things like, this is not my reality. It's not my, and this, I don't know where it came from, but it made sense to me. It doesn't have to make sense to other people. And so in this message right now, I want you to understand there's a couple of things I'm expressing. You're going to face fear, judgment, fear of not going with what everyone wants you to do, choosing your own path, trusting the process, the fear of, for me, coming home and doing what I felt I needed to do to safely and emotionally express myself. I would come home and I would cry, I would play music. So if you're someone that's going through these things, don't be ashamed of how you need to grieve, is the answer here. I had lost someone in my life to unaliving themselves. And unfortunately, I felt I blame myself as well because of how that kind of happened. And, I also had lost a friend to the same situations, but it triggered me, and I wanted to see life differently, and I needed to find answers. And it really kind of felt uncomfortable for quite some time because you're trying to live this life and go to work or having there is no normal anymore. You're having experiences that people aren't going to understand, and not everyone does. And I had to go through that. I understood at some point that there's people out there that have never had these experiences. Some people have. And these events, they play a part in changing you. They do, and it's a good thing in a way. It changes you. The answers you're looking for start. And as I was saying before, I was looking for happiness and I couldn't find it. And I eventually came to this conclusion later on, and I want to share this story a little bit more. I was getting tested a lot with my life, with people. Tests come through people, friends, and I did a lot of what I wanted to do. And I'm glad I did. You know, it wasn't traditional, but I wasn't sleeping great and I didn't really care at one point. And one of my friends said to me, "Is like, what are you doing up?" Like, texted me, "What are you doing up?" He saw me on Facebook Messenger. And I was like, minding my own business. But he's like, "Seriously, like, what are you doing?" Like, it kind of annoyed me. Like, I appreciate the, like, I could tell you care, but don't, I was already in this motion of, don't tell me what to do. Like, I was already being tested. And there was a big time in my life too, where I said no to people. I was learning more. Did what made me happy. It doesn't have to make sense to people at first. Well, in general, never really. It doesn't matter what people think. It doesn't have to make sense to them, as long as it makes sense to you. And make sure there's a safe boundary with that as well. You don't have to share it with everyone. But in that moment with my friend, you know, messaging me, I got frustrated, and I got to the point where I was like, I don't understand what's going on with people and my frustration, my lack of happiness. And I was like, what is it I'm not understanding? And I heard it loud and clear. It was the first, even though I'm spiritual before this and I had moments, I'll never forget this feeling. I was laying in bed and the answer came through so clearly. And I heard it. And I heard, well, you keep pleasing everyone else, but doing what makes you happy. You're doing what everyone else wants you to do. What they want, you're doing what everyone else wants you. Why can't I say that? I was doing what everyone wanted me to do to please them. And I wasn't doing what I wanted to do to please me. And so I had to realize that there was a fear there, the fear of going against what everyone else wanted me to do versus what I wanted to do. You know, when people tell you, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that, do it this way, do it this way, you have to experience your own life. You have to do what you need to do for you to experience, to evolve, to grow. And so this journey will respond to you. But it took for me to get kind of depressed and sad for me to really ask some questions. I want you to take this note down and realize this. Sometimes when there's two polarities, the polarities of intensity, well, there's more than one, but the polarity or the intensity of emotions, intention, and desire, when you truly want an answer to something, when you are emotional in a way of, whether it's excitement, whether it's sadness, you will when you intensify this emotion and you have actual questions, the universe will respond. So what I encourage you to do is feel free to express yourself. Feel free to ask questions out loud or do what you feel you need to do, because it kind of helps actually with the process of not only expressing what you need to hear, or maybe you need to hear to understand yourself more, or get the frustration out, or get the emotions out. Talk, let it out. Because I started saying things and I was like, I don't understand. Some nights it was just, you know, there wasn't clarity, but it came in eventually. It came in. And I honestly started seeing a lot of angel numbers, and I didn't get it. I was like, what's going on? I never had that happen to me. It was 111 222 333, 111 222 333. And I was a chef for 9 years, so I was weighing stuff, and it was like it was everywhere. I was hearing lyrics differently. Music changed. I was seeing colors differently. A lot of things changed. And I started to kind of like freak out a little bit, because even though I'm spiritual, I'm still experiencing. I was like, what the hell's happening to me? But eventually, by looking for clarity and answers, I was brought to more about what they call earth angels, and or also connected to star seeds. It brought in more of clarity of, who I am and what I'm doing here, my purpose and passion. And it brought me down this journey of discovering more. And I want to share this with you. And then I'm going to talk more about the spiritual abilities and expanding them. But before I do, I want to continue connecting this with being an empath. Being an empath is being open emotionally. Going back to what I was saying earlier, you're clearing and healing. And the more you heal, the healing is the process of facing your fears, getting frustrated or triggered about something and learning to make peace with it. It's easy to talk about, but you are letting go. These are old programs, attachments, responses. You're free to be who you are at a soul level. You're letting go of whatever it's fears of the past, mistakes you made, whatever's holding you back. You're just letting go. You're free to be who you are. And this is a beautiful connection to your spiritual development and abilities, because I want to share this with you. And I'll give it to you in a couple different ways. If you are afraid of being your authentic self, what that looks like is, when you go out somewhere, you're wearing a mask basically to appease other people because you're afraid to be who you really are. You're not in alignment with yourself, they'll also call it. You're not aligned with who you truly are. And this is the whole self-discovery of being happy. You're learning about the internal emotions. Why do I feel this way? Your inner being is what I reference this as, is a separate part of who you are versus connection to your outer being. The outer being is what's experiencing this reality. The inner being is the emotions and thoughts. But there's also sometimes a separation in the sense of clarity. Your soul, your inner being might need or want something, but you need to also understand that it's not as easy as we think sometimes to connect, because we're not used to doing that. So I'll go, my inner being, what's going on? What do you need? What do I need? And you have that intuitive connection and you work through it. What's wrong? Why do I feel this way? Oh, it's just this. Oh, I'm just worried about this person, what they're going to think about me if I say. We learn to connect. But being an empath, the more we are expanding and healing, the more in tune we can be emotionally. And I know many of us and some of you here might be thinking, well, how do I protect myself? And that's more fear. A lot of the empath and spiritual teachings I share with people is learn to control your mind, learn to control yourself in the sense of being secure with yourself, learn to find security and clarity, because there's going to be evolutions to things. You're going to realize your power and how we sometimes can give more power to certain things like our job, our boss. We don't want to upset people, so we put them on a higher. We want to make sure that we're not putting things over us. We're not letting them overpower us. We're choosing happiness for ourselves. For example, you might have a fear of calling out of work. Oh, I need a really good reason to call out of work. No, really. If you need personal time, if you're like, nah, man, I'm not doing this today. Some of us are afraid to do that. I was one of those people that was like, I don't want to lose my job. I was always afraid to be that person. I was like, you know what? No, I'm done with this. I'm tired of doing this. Not that I'm a lazy person. It was that I am not going to continue disrespecting myself. If I need it, I need it. So I did. But my point and what I want to share with everyone here on your journey or whatever it is you're developing, your skills of being a spiritualist, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, they are expanded through your self-reflection. They're expanded through your trials and obstacles through life when you are being challenged. What is it you need to see or learn about this reality? Because everything happens to us for us. Is it easy? Yeah, no, it's not easy. Sometimes it's a challenge because even for me, I don't always understand in the moment, but there's other things I utilize in those moments when I'm not fully understanding. Because look, everyone has a different teaching or path. Some of us have similarities. We have to get to this understanding, but maybe you have to understand it through a different way. But the best I can do is share what I've learned and why. And I wanted to always get where I wanted to go now. I wanted that instant gratification. I had to also go through the ego and learn to let go of that eventually. And we can only continue getting better. Did I completely remove it? I don't know. I'm just getting better at things, right? Being free to be myself. But remember, I do want to add this in there for whatever it is you're working on. Putting in time and effort is really important, especially when you're connecting with your ancestors, your guides. I think we complicate a lot of the things. I do want to share this with you as well. Start practicing this simple technique. When you say, I call upon my spiritual guides, you're saying, I call upon my spiritual guides. You're saying the ones that have been born with me, I call upon you're saying the ones that are connected to you, come forward. Call upon my spiritual guides. Please step forward. Have conversations with them. Ask them to help you with certain things. Spirit guides, sometimes what I like to explain to others is they're like your neighbor next door. Sometimes you might need help and they see you, but you need to call your neighbor and be like, hey, are you busy? Can you help me? The same thing goes with family and spirit. They can't always interfere with your life because they need your permission. So remember, when it comes to your life and your spirituality and your growth, and if you want to do this, start investing time when it comes to connecting with them. Have conversations with them. Call upon them. When you say my spiritual guides, your mind spiritually and the intention is literally lining up with them. If you think about this in another way, if you're calling upon a relative that has passed in your family and you say, I call upon my family member so-and-so, you're literally saying mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, you're saying, I'm literally calling you energetically, and you're connected. In our experiences, a lot of us want to look for signs and clues. And a lot of this development starts with trusting your own inner being, your senses, your expansion of your senses. The best thing I can give in starting off is spend time asking questions, even if it's the universe. Universe, I call upon the universe. I don't know what's going on. Have conversations. Get past the uncomfortability. Get past the fear of saying the wrong things. Be honest and truthful on how you feel. I think the best thing you can ever do with not just spirit, but people. Hey, this is how I really feel. This is how I really, even if it's coming off rough at first, because there's a gem in the middle of that. And it doesn't mean that you should be afraid of what can happen by doing this. You're frustrated. It's okay to be frustrated. This is happening. It's okay. But don't disregard your words, the power of your words, the power of your intention of connecting to your guides. Do those things. The reason why I say that is because everything starts with ourselves. We're learning through our experiences in life and the obstacles that are thrown to us, how to evolve and transcend it, how to let go and not continue the same patterns, but to expand. And a lot of these spiritual abilities come in expansion from a new way of living and experiencing. And that new way for this and my abilities and what I want to share with you is going within and learning to trust the senses, and also learn to open your mind, because not everything, I'm not a fan of labels. They say clarity and clear this, clear that. To me, it's a 3D word. It's limiting high vibrations. I'm not saying that to like make that sound negative. Me personally, I'm not a fan of words. Words and labels limit the true potential and expansion of it all. How I experience it is how it comes through me emotionally, but it also comes in through connecting words and feelings. I also see not only with my mind's eye, sometimes I see physically. Everyone's different, but the best thing we can do is expand and feel and do things in ways we haven't before. It's being more aware of yourself. You are the vessel. The vessel is going to receive this energy or connect to energy. Your spirit guides are energy. The vibration is energy. Think about, your Wi-Fi connecting to your phone. There's a signal. There's an energetic signal. Spirit guides and spirits of your family and friends that have crossed over, they're going to be communicating in different frequencies and vibration. I like to look at it personally in my experiences as separate dimensional energies, because there is a different communication style when it comes to spirit guides and or relatives. Some people want to know, is my relative a spirit guide? Not necessarily. For the most part, from what I've experienced, what I've learned, you have God given guides that are separate, you're born with. Family members are more or less still helpful, still loving, caring. No, they're not like battling each other. It's just a separate dimension. You're given guides to help you evolve your soul. And they're also, how do I explain that? Your guides have evolved to the light already, whereas they're helping you learn along the way. And there's ways to see this differently and understand it. But your spirit guides were once living beings of this earth, and they are connected in some way or another from either past lives, friends, relative of a past life. They have transitioned and they're here to help you evolve. But I don't want to go too far with this. I want to also continue talking about your abilities, your purpose. We're not all meant to just stay stuck in the third dimensional way of living where this is all there is to life. And that's probably why you're listening to this. There's much more to life to experience, and you're not meant to just live this life. And there's certain people that are, if you're happy and you clap your hand. If you're happy doing what you do, then do what you do. But if you're like me, that you are constantly searching for more truths in life, you're searching for more meanings of life and ways to see things differently, to expand your horizons, you're looking for spiritual connection and purpose, then this is your place. This is why we're talking about it. There's more to life than meets the eye. And that's a lot of it's because of our internal thoughts and feelings and perception. That's why I love talking about these things. But you really have to want it. You have to want it, and you have to be wanting it to a point where you're looking and you're putting in some effort. You're actually looking for answers, and you're looking to better yourself. You're looking to understand, because it will get to a point sometimes where the goal isn't just to be happy. The goal is to be happy, but you have to remember is that you or we as individuals must change. If you want to be at this timeline that is full of happiness or has a great job, it's the version of you that has what you want, and you're here at this timeline, there's something here that needs to change in order for you to align with that. Maybe it's a personality trait that you need to change about how you see something. It's usually in a place of discomfort. Lean into the fear. Fear is an illusion. Fear is an illusion because fear is just trying to we're protecting ourselves from getting hurt. But they say trust the process, and trust in the process is you know the answer intuitively. You know what you need to do or want to do or feels good to you, but you also have to trust in the process that it will line up for you. A lot of us want to do something, but we're afraid of where are we going to live? What are we going to do? How's it going to play out? You literally have to, this is what a lot of the whole manifesting, a lot of the whole law of attraction, you have to know what you want, or what's right for you, and let go of the fear of what's going to happen. You have to just look, no, it's all going to be fine. It's going to be uncomfortable a little bit, but it's going to be fine. It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. It comes with that territory. So being a spiritual individual comes with the expansions of life. It's going to challenge you. You're going to be challenged. So a lot of times I share this with people because some people assume that your spiritual journey and your spiritual abilities just comes from, no, it comes from also your everyday living experiences. Sometimes it's the intuition comes in, but why are you not listening to it? Why are you not doing it? There's simple messages, when I've read people where my guides are telling me this person needs to do this, and they go, oh, I keep putting that off. Why? These are little hints and messages that Spirit keeps telling you to do. But the problem, and I'm going to share this with you as well. This is great messages as well. You will hear these messages. They're not always going to be in another voice or tone. When you're starting off and you're learning to expand your mind and capacity and how you receive these messages, think about your brain and your body as the vessel. It's a computer system. It's receiving the signal, but the signal is uncoding it in your own voice up here. It's not going to be like Spirit says. Sometimes it's, you should do this. And if you want to expand that horizon, you can sit with it more. Was that me or spirit? And I like to teach people the compass of yes or no. You have to learn to trust yourself. But overall, practice. If it's not about your spiritual abilities and gifts, practice because you want to be more in tune with yourself. Am I just afraid of doing this? Do I need to just speak my truth? A lot of people avoid what they need to do because it's uncomfortable. I've done it. I've done it. And you're going to find through the discomfort, by finally doing what you need to do, speaking your truth, saying what you need to say, letting it out, making that decision, you find that you're not afraid anymore. I don't want to be afraid of what people think. I don't want to be afraid of what they want me to do. I'm doing what I want to do. We all have some sort of experience to free ourselves. That's enlightenment. Finding the peace. It's not always about facing the fear. Sometimes it's about the emotions. You go to therapy or you reflect and you have a dark night, whatever you want to call it, so many ways. It's releasing yourself from a past traumatic event or memories. Your child self, loving who you are. I want to talk about that next. Loving yourself is so important. It's so many different things about loving yourself. Believe it or not, when I told you in the story in the beginning about the depression and the soul awakening, even though I was sad, and I came home and played music, and I was finding a way to express myself and cry. I was literally needing to cry. That's when love that can't go to the person anymore has to be released. It's another transition, But it's just in other ways, it's releasing that feeling. It's letting out. That's a form of loving yourself. Doing what you need to do for you, and you're not, you know what, forget about this job. I need to really do this for me. You're putting yourself first. You're loving who you are. Because when we don't love ourselves, I've found that we get burnt out. We get tired. We're not loving ourselves correctly. I found out over years and more time that there's other ways to love yourself too. But in the beginning for me, I had to learn how to say yes and no. Does this make me happy? No, sorry, I'm not going to do that. That was a learning experience. Things come in evolutions. You start off by loving yourself and not being afraid to say yes or no. You're not people pleasing anymore. You're doing what you feel is right for you. You're not believing in what everyone else wants you to believe. You're believing in what you want to believe in. Just because the world has said, believe in this, and this is this, and this is that, it's a mind, you know what I'm saying? And you realize, well, what do you believe? What does Joe believe? That's what I was asking about. What does Joe believe in? And we don't have to go tell everyone, but you start to think for yourself. And if there's anything that I want to really carry this into with self-love, and I want to remind you, is this important thing. And my goal for everything I do is not only to share this passion and love that I've learned, but to save you time, to give you seeds of thought so you can take it in and go, wow, I didn't think about that. I really should think about that, because I've enjoyed all of this, and sometimes it took longer than I wished I did. But remember to not get things twisted. You free yourself from attaching yourself to judgment and people and what people think you should do. You free yourself because you're not afraid to be you. Not being afraid to be you is being passionate about certain, maybe spirituality, being passionate about doing this, not being afraid to change your career, not being afraid. You're not afraid anymore. You're here to live your life. You're here to embrace who you are. You're here to let go. You're not letting the 3D materials hold you back and self-worth. You free yourself. You're not worried about people liking you or disliking you. Like I come first. I like myself first. I love me first. And remember this. Do it because you love doing it, whatever that is. Find the passion in what you love doing. Find the balance in that. Put in time and effort doing that. You might find success doing it later on too. I had to learn different things about my path journey with that as well. I'm grateful, but find the balance. Don't let money get in the way of it. Make money with it. You can make money with it, but what I found for myself was it went from being super passionate about something to just making the money, and it wasn't balanced properly. So I'm just sharing that quickly. Don't get lost in it, but love what you do, love who you are, have fun with it, be free to be you. Don't calculate. Like sometimes the creativity, I let it out. Like I don't have a full list of notes, and I'm just having fun doing this. But what I really want and hope that you do in this message, whether it's your spiritual abilities, whether it's your spiritual growth or clarity, start learning to trust yourself. I can't read anyone if I don't trust what I'm receiving, what I'm hearing, what I'm feeling. I can't do spiritual work with people if I don't trust in the flow of what I'm receiving or doing. It comes in learning to trust who you are as an individual and have fun with this. When you can shift your mindset from something that's being, maybe negative in mindset to go, what do I need to learn about this? What is bothering me about this? And you start kind of like looking at it in a fun way. What is it about this person that, all right, maybe they're annoying me, but with love, you look at it with unconditional love. You shift the viewpoint. You go from the perspective of me and you, or, I'm in your face, or you're whatever, I'm in your face, to, the law of oneness. We're all connected. You see things and you shift it differently. Okay, why is Joe in my life right now? Why is this happening? Maybe we're having a conversation that's getting a little negative. What is it that, I just got to love Joe for who he is. I just need Joe to understand that sometimes there's different levels. There's a level that you need to express your boundaries. Maybe you're uncomfortable. Later on, you find out that you should have really healed yourself more from the boundary. You were more insecure of that trigger because it was sensitive still. And when someone did something, it poked at it and it made you insecure. So then you pushed back. There's different ways to look at things. For me, if we're going to talk about it real quick, boundary is I'm not going to go over this limit with certain things. I don't want to be bothered with certain things. But I do know that sometimes I do need to observe something if it does bother me. And I have to ask myself, okay, is this really something that's I'm insecure about? How am I responding and thinking about it? How do I need to go about this? Because it could possibly be that we're being negative and we're throwing things out there because we need to really actually heal the wound that's bothering us. Someone says something, it's really triggering you. Well, it's triggering you because there's something about that you need to heal from your past. Things of that nature. But going back to this whole spirituality, your journey, discovering who you are, ask yourself some great questions. These topics I just shared with you, they're going to help open you up more. But what I do want to really emphasize on in your intuition and your expansion is don't look for like these validations in your spirituality and your practice. Don't be like, I didn't hear anything. I don't feel. It starts with being an empath and feeling. You feel it. You feel the energy come through you. Sometimes you also feel the energy of connecting with someone and your spiritual team kind of helping bring forward the clarity and messages for you. But the best we can ever do is practice with ourselves when it comes to what do I feel about this going on in my life? What do I feel? You start to hit the right notes and they feel a certain, when I do that, it feels like, oh, that's what it is. Your inner being's like, yeah, you got it right. I am kind of worried about this. Ask yourself the right questions. When I started to read people more openly and publicly, I forgot I was going to share that story. Okay, let me share the story with you. As I was discovering more about who I am and I discovered the whole happiness thing, right? A lot of what was coming in my reality was self-love. I was seeing videos that were teaching me about choosing happiness, raising your vibration. And I was challenged. I was challenged to really ask myself and learn about who I was. I didn't really know who Joe was. 28 years. You discover yourself for the first time and you're like, oh, wow, this is weird. I don't know. when you catch yourself saying, I don't know, and well, it kind of like, you really need to find out who you are. So I started asking myself some questions. I was having fun. You have to have fun. It's a high vibrational thing. I said, what makes Joe happy? I'll never forget it. I was walking down the hallway going down, what makes Joe happy? And I said, well, and listen to what I'm saying. I said it out loud. What makes Joe happy? Well, Joe, literally, I said, Joe likes to talk with people. Joe likes to share stories and hear stories from people. And Joe, and then boom, it hit me. Like I felt it. It was, whoosh. I heard readings. And I never thought about doing public readings. I never thought about, did I like them in spirituality? Yeah, but this was something I never thought about. And I was looking for self-discovery and clarity and answers. The answers we seek aren't always in the places we're looking. And as I was asking myself questions and raising my vibration and getting curious, and that hit me, it lit up a light bulb. And that's when I started to make decisions. I said, I know what I'm going to do. And I started getting the ball rolling. There's a lot more to the story here, but ask yourself some questions. Learn more about yourself. As you get in more tune with who you are and you ask the right questions and you evolve yourself, you detach yourself from the 3D world in ways that no longer you don't really need to be a part of. Like, why are you going to hold on to this and let it bother you or choose what's right or wrong for you when it doesn't have to do anything with you? You're like, you know what? I don't even believe in any of that. I want to do this for me. I believe in this for me. Do I believe this happened this way and this happened this? No, not really, but I do believe this. You start to think for yourself. But spirituality and your abilities comes in connecting and being in tune with who you are, feeling yourself in a way of, I know I need to do this for me. And I know that this is how you start to evolve and go, wow, I need to do this. I love doing this. And for me, talking about this helps me. Talking and sharing this with people helps me. And helping you helps me. Helping people helps us. And sharing our passions helps. It's a vibrational raiser. You want to raise your vibration. When you raise your vibration, it's a whole new timeline. I do want to talk about timelines and alternate realities and parallels in the next episode. I'm going to be doing that. And if you enjoyed this episode of Abandoned Planet, please, I know on YouTube there's a video. If you're watching this, let me know in the comments. If you are listening on Spotify, let me know somehow. But it's a practice. You are a work of art. You are going to be always evolving. And I think the best thing for me, and I want to share with you, is there were times where I noticed I was worried or upset, and I chose to ask myself, like, what would I rather spend my time doing? If my time is valuable, my energy is valuable, and it's learning to shift that emotional gear into allowing yourself to be happy. It's a habit. It's shifting the habit so that it no longer continues to repeat. And choosing to raise your vibration. Having fun, and you're literally choosing to do something to bring you happiness, to raise your vibration. And when you're happy, you also attract more positive and higher vibrational things. These higher vibrational things can be clarity, an answer. It could be an opportunity, but we want to do the path of least resistance. We're raising our vibration, but we're not looking for certain things. We're letting it come to us. So when it comes to your abilities, when it comes to learning about who you are, when it comes to finding answers, yeah, can we go to another person to help us discover more about who we are? Sure, they can tell us. But the best thing I find is learning to love yourself, your life, your experiences, and falling in love with who you are and the process and what you discover. Because that's the most beautiful thing, when you start to realize your thoughts line up with something. When your intuition was actually right, you start to realize, wait, I actually had a vision about this before. You're not overthinking it. You're like, no, I definitely Don't get me wrong, in the beginning, you're going to be like, oh, does anyone know? I was one of those people. And I'll put that hands down right now and tell you why this happened and why I'm grateful it did. That part I mentioned earlier about not getting the answers. When I was looking for happiness and asking people, it was just like, everyday people. But my life started to shift not only with angel numbers, but I started having other spiritual events that kind of freaked me out. And I started going online looking for answers because I was like, there's someone out there's got to know. There's people that were close to me that were spiritual. They weren't answering the answers that I needed. They didn't get it. They were like, I don't know what you're talking about. And that kind of bothered me a little bit because there was people that at the time were very gifted. And I was like, wow, they don't. And the reason why I share that isn't to make that negative about them. It's that the universe, the reality, your experiences, people, you're literally meant to experience things at a certain level where your path, you're meant to find clarity in a unique way. It's very frustrating sometimes, but it's kind of beautiful. I've had experiences where the universe has brought me to 3 strangers who all had similarities to my life that helped me. You will find fun things, but you have to learn to trust the process. Oh man, I just remembered another part of the story. I'll share this with you and I'm gonna wrap it up. A part of my journey through my awakening, I was dealing with really high anxiety. I was very depressed at one point as well, and I wanted to enjoy and be happy, like I said, and I wanted to go out on the weekends and do something with myself because I was always depressed. Then Monday would come and I would have work again. It was just this vicious cycle. And by like this happened over and over again. I was getting so upset. And my intuition started getting louder. Like you can't ignore it at one point. And I heard, go do what you want to do. And at this point at night, I remember at night, it was really late at night and I wanted to just go get food. And I was afraid of waking my parents up and the noise and what happens. And I was like, I had to fight through it, the anxiety. And when I finally did, I was happy I did. Because you have to sometimes show yourself that it's not a big deal. Go free. You find fear and judgment and what's going to happen. Oh my God, be an adult, be free, live this life. You know what I mean? But I do remember this one day where I was like, you know what? I'm tired of this weekends going by and doing nothing. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and that was the problem. And I finally said, you know what? I'm going to go take a ride. I don't know where I'm going. And I was having a lot of anxiety. I was like, I heard I'm wasting gas in my head and blah, blah, blah. What are you doing? Where are you going? And I was literally fighting my own subconscious programming. It was being a bully in my head. And I just kept making decisions. I'm going to make a left here. I'm going to turn here. And I got to a point where there was a local pub, sold some beer and wings. And I was like, I'm going to get beer and wings here. And I pulled in, I had beer and wings, and at one point, the bartender, she asked me, this was during lunchtime. She's like, hey, are you okay? I was very, very clearly not. I was having a hard time with life. And I said, quite honestly, no. I had shared with her why what was going on, and she had shared with me a little bit about her life, and it was a similarity. And there was the synchronicity to this. There was 2 other people that played a similar role in the synchronicity. But life is wild. And if you allow things and you allow yourself to learn and lean into things that are uncomfortable, you lean into facing a fear, lean into anxieties, and you will find there's beauty in it. The universe is trying to lead you somewhere. So find your direction through this. Learning spiritually and evolving spiritually isn't always one way. The answers come in other places you're not looking. And sometimes that's learning about yourself and going in this discomfort and evolving and releasing. I hope this helps, and I really enjoy talking about this. My name's Joe. If you're ever interested in private sessions, I do offer them. I do readings, which are with my spiritual guides, and I read you. I don't want to know anything about you. I do leave time for the end for you to ask questions or to talk more about whatever Spirit has discussed with the reading. I also do life coaching. So if you're struggling with your life in any shape or form when it comes to mentally, emotionally, you need clarity, I'm not sure what I'm doing, I'm struggling with this, I help with that as well. When it comes to your metaphysical life, your subconscious mind, your beliefs, maybe you're attracting a blockage, who knows? And as well as mentoring. Mentoring, I teach you how to get in tune with your abilities. I work through them with you. I explain some things. We have fun. Key factor is having fun. If you're not having fun, you need to be comfortable with someone. So I work with people and I'm always trying to be comfortable across the board and bring in that comfortability. So if you enjoy the way I talk, the way we connect here, who knows, maybe it's something for you. If you would like that, reach out to me. A millennials third eye at gmail.com. There's no letters and no numbers. No. A millennials third eye at gmail.com. You can also find me on Facebook at A millennials third eye. Also, you can text me. I have a business number, 845-202-2093. All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Abandoned Planet, and I look forward to the next timeline. Peace.